I did see a couple things that we can work on with your game. Hi, Teresa. Are we live too? Yeah. I'm glad you could make it.
How are you?
Good to see you.
You too.
Okay, so what we were basically talking about already for people in the mic up there is that all aiming is done with the body. Another thing that I had mentioned, so again, let's say this is your shot line right here. This is the line that I lock my target on. Then I swing around to the ball like this. I just swing around to the ball to look. Remember what I was saying. If this is the line, I don't swing across the line because then my body's not going to be properly aimed to the line. When I'm lining up a shot, I come from back here and I'm looking at the line. Then I'll come back from the cue ball and then I'll get back in here and then I'll come into the line. When you step into the line like this, it makes sure that your body is straight to the target. So many players swing across the line and that's how they miss. I mean, some people can just tell this is the spot. And then, so they just make this ball right here. They just shoot their four ball and they're drawing it over a little bit and they just come right over here and then now they're shooting. Well, now my body is actually pointed over here and not over there. The nines of this league, right? The 700s in Ultimate Pool, they all make sure that they go through every single tiny fundamental piece, right? My pre-shot routine is very specific and I make sure I do it every single time. I always look at where I'm shooting, come back to the line, step into the line. Of course the music got louder, right? Of course it got louder. So now I got to yell. And then I come down here like this and I lock my eyes on the target. Chris, are you going to ask her to turn it down a little bit? Thank you, buddy.
Does anything change if it's like a shot? Like, I'm sure even shorter people, I don't have it a lot, but shorter people probably more like, not necessarily that you need a bridge, but like where you're kind of 1 foot off the floor or something. Does anything with that line change?
No. And what Anna just asked was, in those situations, those weird situations where, like, let's say you got a foot off the floor, does that change how your body is aligned? Now, obviously, it's a pool table, so sometimes you're stretched, sometimes you're over here like that. So, yes, your body might be different, but you still want to try to square yourself to the target as best as possible. And you also want to try to come into that line, right? So I'm trying to think of an example. Right, so here, like, let's say if this is your weird position, you still want to kind of come into that, and then you can do whatever you need to do to the table. But most importantly, I cannot stress this enough. What's up, Darwin? Good to see you, buddy. All aiming is done with the body. It's not done with the eyes. It's not done with the arms, right? Yeah, I think that is the most important part of that. Now, with the aiming, as I mentioned, fundamentals are very important. Your feet need to be below your shoulder, right? This is not going to make a shot, right? This is not going to, I mean, it will make some shots sometime, but the point is consistency. And if you can consistently put your feet underneath your shoulders and keep your body square to the target, then you will make more balls. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Mike, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Ron, good to see you, sir. Jordan, good to see you, brother. So if that's good on aiming, we're going to move on to the next topic. You guys ready for the next topic? All right, I got to look real quick. What's that? No. I had on the flyer the different topics, right?
Yeah, the second one was stroke.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. What was it then?
Mr. Yana over here is trying me on my own ball pocketing.
That's epic.
Ball pocket. It's not even close. All right, so after we've now established how to aim, now I want to talk about ball pocketing. And the one thing that I wanted to share with you guys, this tip I'm about to share with you, and I think I already shared this with Ron. This is the single most important thing that has helped me become a better ball pocketer of anything that I've learned. And it's going to sound incredibly simple, and you all are going to probably be like, I knew that already, but I bet most of you don't do it. And that is, the drum roll, to overcut the ball, right? Now, obviously, I'm not talking about a straight in shot. Don't overcut that. Shoot that straight in. But if you're cutting a ball, and this is so important, and I'll explain several reasons why. I'm sorry, I got to get my 15-minute timer going to make sure that I don't go over. Okay. So anytime I ever cut the ball, right, if you look at a pocket, when you're looking at a pocket straight on, it's very wide open. I'm going to steal whoever's cue this is here. You have access to the whole entire pocket, basically. But when you're coming at it from a different angle, if I were to run my cue along the rail, you can see I have cut off that half of the pocket. And actually, so now I can give this cue back. And actually, the pocket goes from here to here. Because when you make this ball from this cut angle, you're actually hitting it off this part of the rail. So when I'm looking at a pocket straight on, this is the middle of the pocket. But when I'm cutting it, if I use that as the middle of the pocket that I'm aiming to, look, the line is actually going to hit the rail, right? So back to overcutting. Anytime I am shooting a ball like this, if I'm assuming that this is the middle of the pocket, I never aim to the middle of the pocket. I always aim to overcut everything. So I will aim here on that line. Several reasons why. Number one is we're all amateurs. None of us are pros, and amateurs always accidentally undercut the ball, right? I don't know if you've noticed that. You'll be on the 8 ball to win the game, and here's your shot like this, and what happens is you hit it like that and you undercut the ball. So when I'm shooting a cut shot, if I aim to over, now obviously I'm not aiming here, right? I'm just aiming to this side of the pocket. If I aim to overcut the ball a little bit and then my amateur status kicks in and I undercut it a little bit, well, I actually wind up hitting the center of the pocket, right? Does that make sense? Everybody, does that make sense? Another reason why you want to overcut the ball is physics. 2 principles in physics. Number one, when these 2 balls hit each other like this, the 2 balls as a pair move a little bit before this other ball releases. So if I'm aiming here to the middle, but when these 2 hit, they move and then it releases, I'm actually going to hit here. Another reason why I want to overcut it. Because when that happens, basically what that's called is called throw. And deflection and throw are much higher level concepts that we can talk about one-on-one, because that's a pretty hard thing to explain to a huge group. But a lot of you guys have heard the terms deflection and throw. But basically, the softer you hit it, the more it throws. So the more, when this ball hits it, the 2 balls move together and then the ball releases. So if I have this shot and I aim to overcut it, it will hit at the point when I'm aiming it, which is here. Then the 2 balls will move together and then it will release, again hitting the middle of the pocket. So that's reason number 2 why you should always aim to overcut. And I'm telling you guys, I've been in 9 in an APA for 18 years. And obviously I'm over 650 in Ultimate Pool. We just started, right? So my handicap hasn't averaged out there. I only really got a good hold of this probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it just shot my ball pocketing up to an incredible level, right? So number one reason is because amateurs usually always undercut. So always overcut. Number two reason is because the balls basically stick together and throw to the underside of the pocket. So if you're aiming, when you're shooting this shot, now obviously I'll go this way for the people on that side. If I'm going on that side and I'm aiming this 15 ball, I'm not aiming it, first of all, I would never aim it to the center of the pocket where I would aim if I'm shooting straight in, because that would hit the rail, that wouldn't even go in. So when I draw my line here like this, and I split the distance between this point and that point, which is the size of the pocket, I'm aiming towards this side, because I will usually undercut it as an amateur, and it will throw towards the center of the pocket. So those are two massive reasons to do it. Here's the third. If I haven't sold you on overcutting yet, here's the third one. Sorry. And this is huge in 8-ball, right? Let's say me and Mike, or Mike, we're playing 8-ball. We're both down to the 8-ball. And this is my shot on the 8. Well, if I undercut this ball, what happens? The 8-ball goes right in front of the pocket for my opponent to make it. I'm undercutting it. It goes right in front of the pocket for my opponent to make it. Right. Most low-ranked players do exactly that. And most low-ranked player games are decided on this exact thing. Who screws the 8-ball up and leaves it right in front of the pocket for their opponent, right? This is how most of the games are decided. Now, if I have that same shot and I'm aiming to overcut it, now if I miss it by drastically overcutting it, what actually happens is you get a defensive leave, and the 8-ball hits this rail, comes to the middle, and the cue ball goes one rail down to the bottom of the table. Now, I'll probably wind up making this ball because, you know, that's just how life goes. But let's say I overcut it. Like I said, I didn't overcut it enough, right? I mean, you can understand the principle. Hopefully, I'll be able to actually overcut it the way I want to, right? There we go. Does that make sense? I would much rather leave my opponent this 8-ball than the one before that, right? And you will be surprised at how many shots, well, again, I probably won't make this one, how many shots you will make if this is where you would normally aim. Basically, what I'm asking you guys to do is whatever angle you're doing, just overdo it. Try to bank it off this rail. So now I'm looking here, looking at my spot, aiming here, right? And then I'll swing around to the cue ball. This is the line. I step into that line, and I shoot for the 8. And it goes pretty much right in the center, even though I was aimed there. Does that make sense? Who is going to overcut balls for the rest of their life? Hopefully all of you guys, right? And it works in either direction. Now, that is, I should point out again, this is a straight in shot. Don't overcut that. This is a very slight cut. I wouldn't overcut this either. If this is the middle of the pocket, I may aim just a hair. I'm talking about shots that look like this, right? I would aim a lot more to that side. Make sense? Any questions? Any questions? Ladies first. Ladies first.
So, how does that tie into if you're hitting bottom center top when you're trying to do that overcut, or is that what changes the slide? Sliding.
So if you're using top or bottom, that is going to put top or bottom on the object ball. It's not necessarily going to change the path of the object ball. It's going to change the path of the cue ball coming off. And also, I should have said this at the beginning. I am not a professional, right? I did say at a Holiday Inn last night, and you remember those commercials? I am not a doctor. In no way or shape or form should you take all this as concrete law. This is only what I've learned loving this sport and playing this sport for a really long time. So I could be wrong about some of this stuff, and that's okay. But I really appreciate all you guys showing up to learn and try to be better pool players. So back to the thing. Top or bottom isn't necessarily going to change the path of this ball. Right or left will. So top or bottom, once this hits this ball, it's either going to pull it more this way or it's going to push it more that way off of the tangent line. Right or left will change the path of this ball. And right or left is also known as inside or outside English. Outside English does help with the throw effect of this ball. So if you try to overcut it and you put outside English, basically a gearing effect happens because one ball is spinning that way, and when it hits the other ball, it starts to spin. So a gearing effect will happen, and then you actually might overcut that, right, with the outside English. But I have made some crazy shots that you should never make. I made one against, we were talking about Tyler. I made one against Tyler where like this was my 8-ball and I only had here, and I basically overcut that as much as I could, and I put as much outside on it to throw it in that general direction as I could. But again, if we start talking about deflection and throw, we're talking about higher level principles, and players that are ultimate pool ranks 3 to 400 and things like that, right? Focus on hitting the center of the ball first. Focus on your body, your fundamentals. You don't want chicken wing. You don't want this way. Try to get everything square first and learn in layers, right? Players that are 600, 550 in ultimate pool, then yes, I'd be more than happy to talk a lot more about how deflection and throw changes every single shot. And also, I don't know if you guys use YouTube as a resource. I highly recommend Dr. Dave on YouTube. If you guys haven't heard of him, like, he literally scientifically breaks all this stuff down way better than I ever could. But when it comes to right and left, the amount of spin, the amount of speed, the distance of the shot, everything is an adjustment, which actually is what makes the game we love harder than almost all games. Because when that guy squares himself to the target of the free throw, he just squares himself and then he shoots it. Yeah, he puts a little bit of backspin on the ball with his wrist when he flips like that, but he's not curving it there like we do in pool. Almost all shots, unless you hit the cue ball dead center, have a little bit of curve to them, and it is actually very hard to hit dead center. I think if we're good on that, we can go to the. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Yano. Shoot.
Talk about the difference between drag, stun, and stop.
Drag, stun, and stop. Those are actually 3 very good principles that Dan was asking about. So, stun, for you guys that don't know, and actually I should use a stripe for this. If I were to just roll this ball up here, that's called a rolling cue ball. You can see the 10 ball rolls along with it. If I were to hit it firmer and then the center and the cue ball slid the whole way to the 4 ball, that's actually a stun shot. Well, let's do another example. And then if you were to use backspin and the ball's spinning backwards the whole way, then it would hit the ball and it would draw back. What Dan said, a drag shot, is where you put the backspin on it and then it turns over to topspin before it gets to the ball. Those are all different ways to manipulate how hard you have to hit it, the distance of the shot. You know, while we're talking about this stuff, I'm just going to pause the timer here real quick because there is something I talked about different concepts, but I can't help to not want to share another thing with you guys about playing pool. And one of the biggest differences between like a 3-400 and a 6-700 is how they hit the ball, right? And what Dan just talked about drag, stun, and stop are very good examples of that. What most lower ranked players do is they roll this ball up into the ball that they're shooting. And if you watch the pros, they hardly ever roll a ball. And this is why, and I love to give this example for two reasons to explain it to you. You guys can imagine a medieval castle that's got a big gate, and then they have this huge tree that they put on a pendulum, bang, and they're banging the fucking gate to try to get through the front door, right? That is how you should shoot pool. This is your huge tree that bangs in there. Another way I like to do it, golf, right? The ball is down there, and it's always the swing. You come back and you swing all the way. They pretend the ball isn't there, and it's all about making a swing. They don't take their cue down to the ball and then just push it. That's how most players, lower ranked players, shoot pool, is they just push the ball through. You actually need to think of your swing as that big tree that's on a pendulum that the medieval guys are using to bang through the front door of the castle. And the cue ball just happens to kind of be in the middle of that. Wayne, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, buddy. The cue ball just happens to be in the middle of that swing. So that's why a lot of people think, oh, well, those high-ranked players, they hit the ball too hard and all that. They're not necessarily hitting the ball hard. What they're doing is they're doing a swing like in golf, and the ball just happens to be in the middle of it, right? Does that make sense? So when I'm thinking about my shot here, I'm coming through the swing all the way. I'm not necessarily just trying to push through it. I go back and then all the way forward. Does that make sense? Of course, it would have been nicer if I made that ball. Should I do another one with my eyes closed? Just to show you guys it's all in the stance. I might miss this one, though. So again.
Look at Rick and hit it.
Huh?
Just aim it, look at Rick and hit it.
Okay, I was going to say, where's Rick sitting? All right, so if I come in like this, my body is square to the target. I don't think I can do that because that hurts my head. It'd be easier to just close the eyes, right? Okay, so let's go to the next topic.
One more thing, Neil.
Shoot.
Importance of pre-shot routine and hitting a ball no matter what ball.
Hitting what?
Hitting a ball no matter what ball.
Hitting a ball no matter what ball. What do you mean?
Even if you're all the way stuck on the ball that you're hitting, this might not necessarily have an ultimate pool, but the importance of following a routine opposed to just.
What Dan is bringing up is another very high-level concept, which is important, and it's something I talked about the aiming, is your pre-shot routine. And I already showed you guys a little bit about my personal pre-shot routine. And basically, to keep yourself from quote-unquote choking, right? You choke because you're letting your mind think about, oh, shit, I got to make this ball to win the game, right? The way to take that out of there is to get your body in a pre-shot routine. Mine is always the same. I don't care how easy the shot is, right? I could be on the 8 ball, and I could be up 4-0, and this could be my 8 ball shot, and I'm about to beat somebody 5-0. I don't care. I still come and look. I swing over to my target. I step in. I do my practice strokes, 1, 2, 1, and then fire. So that way, my brain always knows when I'm pulling the trigger, right? So I don't give chance for, oh, I'm going to miss this to creep in. And you're not like, should I pull the trigger now? Should I pull the trigger now? What about now? What about now? Your body knows. 1, 2, 1. Whatever your own personal pre-shot routine is. If you go and look at Efren Reyes from the 1980s to Efren Reyes from 2026. It's over 50 years, and you can always tell exactly when he's going to hit the cue ball because he's been doing the same pre-shot routine for forever. And it's always the same. He goes like 1, 2, and then he goes 1, and then boom, he pulls the trigger. I'd bet $1 million on every single time that he's going to hit the cue ball because his pre-shot routine is so consistent. All right, so I think it's time to go on to the next concept. Like I said, we're only going on like the most important part of these concepts. Every single one of these concepts that I'm going over, we could like seriously go in depth with. But I just wanted to kind of, you know, try to get you guys to think about elevating your game, right? Okay. Okay. Well, tell them not to watch the video then, right? Okay, so the next part is position, right? So this is where I'm going to need audience participation. Who wants to shoot a shot? Who's brave enough to come shoot a shot? All right, Teresa, come here. So here is, you have ball, you get your cue. You have your cue?
Yeah,
I want you to be comfortable. I want you to be comfortable. Get your cue. Okay. All right, there you go. So you have ball in hand. There's only the 2 ball and the 8 ball left. How would you get on the 8 ball? Just shoot it. All right, go for it. That's actually very good. Wow. That's excellent. That is excellent. That is excellent. All right, Teresa, let's see if you can do another way. Come here. So basically, the whole point I'm bringing this situation up is because when it comes to position, you want to memorize several different ways to move around the table. And what I want to show you is one very simple beginning way that you can build off of later on, and it's called wrapping the corner, which of course Teresa didn't do. So Teresa, I want you to come over here like this, and I want you to shoot, if this is straight on, I want you to shoot half the ball with a little bit of right, and basically you're wrapping this corner, 1, 2, and you're coming down at the 8 ball like this. Does that make sense?
Except I don't do left and right.
Well, just try it.
Okay.
Just try it. And here, so what I like to help people with when they don't do English is set the cue ball up. So if that's the center, I just want you to be right there. Does that make sense? See the red dot? If that's the center, be on the right side. But don't hit this ball full. Hit half of it. I've only played one ultimate pool match so far, and Teresa beat me. So now you just didn't get the speed good enough, right? But let's say you just hit a little bit harder, it comes down like that, right? So the reason why I like to teach people this shot, like I said, is it's something called wrapping the corner. First, you start off with an easy one like this, and you just get the feel of going around the table for a ball that's down here on the bottom of the table, right? Then what you can do is you can start moving that ball out a little bit, and it's basically the same shot, right? Same thing, a little bit of right English, half the ball, and I'm going around the table to the ball down here on the bottom. Then we're going to move the shot even farther out. And you see what I mean by wrapping the corner? I'm going into the corner and I'm coming 2 rails, right? This is just one of, not a lot though either. There's probably like 6 or 7, maybe more, but 6 or 7 shots that if you could just memorize, when you see them come up, you're gonna know how to get from point A to point B on the table, right? A lot of people get frozen because they're in the match and they're looking at this ball and they're like, well, how do I get down here, right? And then they slam it because they think it's so far away when you actually don't even have to slam the shot because you just use the table to get down to this ball, right? Does that make sense? Now, the reason why I don't necessarily like the way Teresa did it originally.
Set it up this way. I'm left-handed. I had to straight.
So what she's saying is, since I'm right-handed, I shouldn't be able to do it from this side. Is that what you mean? Because it's basically the same. It's the same shot. A little bit of left, and you wrap the corner, right, to the bottom rail. But I appreciate the way Teresa shot her shot. But that brings me to another layer of thinking about the shot. The reason why I don't necessarily like the way Teresa shot that shot. If you look at this 8-ball, and if we want to shoot it this way, right, this is the general triangle that we have to shoot the shot, right? Does that make sense? The way Teresa shot it, she's coming across the triangle. So if you only have a space this big to leave it in, right, when Teresa was playing her leave, if she comes up and goes like that, her speed control would actually have to be absolutely perfect. The way I'm showing you to wrap the corner, you hit this rail and then you coming in the shot. So let me use that example. Remember this shot that we were cutting over here like this. If this is the basic triangle that you're using, when you're playing position on this ball, you don't want to cross that triangle because then your speed has to be this perfect. If you can come down that triangle line, well, then you can hit it this soft or this hard or this hard or that hard or that hard, and you still have the shot. Does that make sense, everybody? So basically,
Increase your margin of error.
correct. And when you learn this wrap the corner shot, you're coming in here and then into that triangle. Also, another reason is the way that she did it is very scratchy, right? When you play this, you have all of this rail to hit to get to this shot, and it's much more likely for you to scratch on the way that she did it. This guy can shoot the shot. Come on in here. Look at this shark just standing there with the eyes. Come show me the wrap the corner shot, T-Rex. Come on, buddy, get in here. Wrap the corner. Half the 4-ball with right spin and go 1, 2, 3 and come into the rail, right? This is one of these 600-700 players I was talking about. Now, he just got here, so he's a little excited and he hit it a little firm.
Oh, if I hit it firm enough and I get to that side?
That is true. That is true. So Troy, what I was basically trying to explain to people is that once you learn that you can use the table to come around, even shots like this, once you start learning to wrap the corner, then you can get from one side of the table to the other. Any questions about wrapping the corner?
So wrapping the corner means half of the object ball, or wrapping the corner?
Wrapping the corner, no. Wrapping the corner means this is the corner pocket, and I'm going to go in and out of the corner. In and out of the corner. That's what wrapping the corner means. Does that make sense? So here's another thing. When you watch the pros, when you watch high-level players shoot the 9-ball, right? 9-ball, when you break, 9-ball usually winds up being somewhere close to the spot. When they shoot this shot, they never just hit it with top because you can come down one rail and scratch like this. When you watch these kinds of shots on YouTube, they'll pretty much always wrap the corner to guarantee, number one, they hit your shot correctly. Number two, they're not going to scratch. You know what I'm talking about. You will never see a pro hit the 9-ball like this. Never. Number one, they didn't stroke it. They didn't use that battering ram to break through the castle doors, right? The way they shoot the shot is they wrap this corner and they're able to let their stroke out and they actually hit the ball. So they know they don't scratch, right? They're not hitting it hard. They're just controlling exactly where the cue ball is going, number one, and they're stroking the ball, number two. Dan, you got one?
Yeah.
Say that again.
Slide rail Rails and table conditions.
And table conditions?
How that affects
Yes.
About that whole wrapping the corner.
Yes.
Are you saying?
Not necessarily, no. So two questions. I'm going to answer both of them. The first thing that Dan asked was how different tables affect how the rails go. And older, more worn-in tables like this will grab the ball more when it hits the rails. When you go to Cherokee to play the grand finals, the tables will have new felt. So the ball will actually slide down the rail a little bit more, okay? That's what Dan was asking about. I'm sorry, man, what's your name? Karen. And what Karen was asking about was when you're doing this wrap the corner shot, like, are you necessarily putting inside or outside English on the shot to get the desired effect, right? So normally, if you're using a shot where you're playing multiple rails, you normally do a little bit of what they call running English, which is outside English, right? Inside English is never running English. It's outside English. And all that is to help the ball go two rails. But you basically mostly just want to use the tangent line of the ball. And for those of you that don't know, real quick way to learn the tangent line. If I'm shooting this ball into this pocket, if I take my cue and I push the ball into the pocket like that, see this? That is the tangent line. Does that make sense? Super quick, easy, simple explanation of the tangent line. So if I want to use the tangent line to get around the table, I can still use a middle ball and just make sure I have the correct angle to get around the table. And in fact, I mean, I don't know your skill level. You could be the best player in here. But for the low-ranked players, as I mentioned, I would not recommend using a whole bunch of side English. Try to stay in the middle of the cue ball the best way that you can. Any other questions? No? We can move on to the next topic. Let me take a look at my thing real quick. I think, yep, we only have two more things. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about, and this is huge, is defense. And one of the main reasons I did all this is because these two lovely ladies right here. It's because they want to learn more about defense. And I was like, well, shit, if I'm going to teach them, I might as well teach everybody that wants to learn, right? So in 8-ball, there's one massive defense that you all should know and that you all should practice it. That's not the 8-ball. Here's the 8-ball right here. And this defense can apply very well to 9-ball all games. And it's called splitting the ball. So most low-ranked players will try to attempt to bank this shot, right? This is a very, very low percentage bank shot. And once you learn the quote-unquote easy defense, you'll be able to execute that defense a lot better than the bank. Same thing with this shot right here. If I have a 300 on the team, I would much rather, once I teach them the defense, I would much rather see them mess up the defense than mess up the bank. And here's why. As I mentioned, the bank is a much more difficult shot. So splitting the shot. If this is straight on, I'm going to aim at half of the ball on the right side, and all I want to do is hit the ball into this rail and up to the top, right? Just a very simple defense like that. Now, if you play this on your opponent, they're going to be in a hurt locker. And you see how easy that was. Most of the time what happens is when they try to bank it, they completely miss it, and what happens? You put it right in front of the pocket. Remember what I was saying earlier about when 2 300s or 400s are battling it out against each other? Very rarely does someone go just take the game. What happens is someone else loses it to them, right? So this is actually one of the most important things for the lower ranked players. Now, higher ranked players, when, you know, let's say Troy and Cody are playing each other. Troy has been playing pool for a really long time. He's worked on this bank shot. In the long run, it's much better for him to go for this bank shot, because if he doesn't, Cody's going to run out the whole entire table, right? But if you and your fellow lower-ranked opponent are on this 8-ball, in the long run, it's much better for you to play the defense than it is for you to go to the bank shot.
What if 8-ball screws on the rail?
You can still hit it in a manner to get it off the rail. And you can even play the cue ball a little bit farther down, right? So 2 principles, right, with this defense. The first principle, point them at a rail. Sorry, my timer's going off. So the principle is to point them at a rail rather than point them at a pocket. It's a pretty crappy defense if I point them right at a pocket. If I point them at a rail, well, then they're going to have to show me something to make it. Now, here's the game you can play either with someone else or by yourself. And I have done this by myself many times. Here's the game. You start with the ball generally here, and you see how many of these that you can do. Obviously, this is the first one. So now, rather than banking it, same shot. I want to try to hit this ball to this rail. That's it. I want to point them at the rail rather than pointing them at the pocket. Now, that was a little hard, and obviously I need to practice this game myself. But you can play this game either with an opponent or by yourself to try to practice your defenses. I can't hear you. One more time. How so? What do you mean?
I mean, like you were talking about hitting it the same way every time.
Well, so you obviously aren't going to nail this one, right? So you just want to do the same pendulum, but just a shorter, right? When you're doing a bigger stroke, you got a bigger swing, right? You just have a shorter, right? So again, I try to play this game over and over again. So I just hit there and try to count how many times you can do it. And if you need to move the cue ball over to give yourself an easier shot, do that, all right? So you can see how many of these in a row you can get. And just keep pointing them at a rail. Keep pointing them at a rail. This is so much easier than learning the bank. I promise you this. Now, that's for 8-ball, right? So let's say you're on 9-ball. And you don't have a great shot on the 2. Well, it's the same shot, but now what I want to do is get the 5 in the way, right? So now I want to put the 5 in the way of these 2 balls. Does that make sense? You split the balls. Now, obviously I didn't hit that one that well because, again, I apparently need to practice this shot as well. You split the balls and you put the ball in the middle of the 2 balls like that. Does that make sense? So it's the same exact shot. Now, granted, I didn't necessarily hook my opponent, but I got the most important part of the shot down. I pointed him at a rail rather than pointing him at a pocket. Who wants to try the shot? Who wants to try it? Somebody. Come on, I'll give you an easy one. This is the easiest one to start. Mike, come shoot it. So about half ball, and it's all about speed. You're just banking it here and to the top rail. Forget about the cue ball. There you go. So now play the game. So now the other way. Cue ball here and there, cue ball there. This guy's much better at this than I am, right? So there are situations. there are situations that you get to where you can't do it, right? If you got to a situation like this, then you're going for the bank shot, right? You're not trying to get this ball up on the rail like that. But if you're in a weird situation, you know, like this, you can send the 2 ball up to the rail, and you can send the cue ball 2 rails. Now that one I hit too hard. Does that make sense? This is something that y'all should play against each other. Back and forth, trying to point him at a rail rather than pointing him at a pocket. Any questions? That's like the one and only defensive thing I wanted to show you guys. What time is it? All right, so it's 6 o'clock. So for the last like 20, 30 minutes, I wanted to talk about ultimate pool rules, right? So let me try to get as many of the players that are playing ultimate pool tonight over here. We're going to talk about, oh, you can hear? All right. Can you guys hear? Because I want to talk about ultimate pool rules. Can y'all hear? Y'all can hear? Okay. So we're going into week 7 of 14 right now. And first of all, I don't know if you've seen the standings. Have y'all seen the standings of the teams? Literally, I think the first place team has like 135 points. Second, third, and fourth, basically the next 3 teams are tied at 132 points. And then the team after that has 122 points. 5 out of 6 teams are literally just all clogged up right there in first place. They're all within 1 or 2 matches of each other. I think that's a huge testament to how fair the different matches and the league is. There's not one team running away with it. And we have different makeups teams too. We have teams that are stacked with high-ranked players, and then we have teams that are stacked with low-ranked players. All of those teams are neck and neck right now, right? So as we are going into week 7, remember for the first couple weeks, I asked everyone to be a little bit more lenient. Well, now I'm asking everyone to be more strict. Play by the rules. Because when we go to play in Cherokee in, at the end of the year, actually it's in November 2nd to the 7th, we're going to be playing for $200,000. They're going to be super strict about the rules. So I want you guys to stop giving your opponent the break, the benefit of the doubt, right? If their hair, body, shirt, finger touches the ball, call a foul on them. Let them know. I made a little bit of a list about the things I wanted to talk about the rules. Because I think the number one most important thing I need to say, but I just want to make sure I get the list up going here. So the number one most important thing I wanted to tell you guys about the rules is that the match is always between the 2 opponents. If Teresa and I are playing each other in the match, only Teresa and I can call fouls on each other. We have to get out of the habit of having anybody else on the team either call a foul or come interfere with the match. Okay? So if Teresa fouls and I didn't notice it, it's on me. If your captain comes to me and says, hey, that was a foul, or gets in the middle of it, it's going to be a sportsmanship warning against your team. The match is between the 2 opponents. So that means not just the captain needs to know the rules. This is your match. You need to know the rules. Because if she fouls, if she just made the 8 and the cue ball is rolling like this, and she picks it up while it's still rolling, and I didn't know that was loss of rack, well, then that's on me. It's not on any of my teammates, right? So I want you guys to start calling it on people. Now, also, with that said, this is a ladies and gentlemen's league. People aren't going to make up fouls. If they call a foul on you, if they abide by the rules of the league, take it like a woman, take it like a man, right? Don't get all pissed off because they're actually playing by the rules. If you move a ball with your finger and they say, hey, foul, you moved it, don't be all pissed off that they're following the rules. They're following the rules, right? This is the league that we all agreed to play, and these rules are good for a reason. I believe in them, right? So if you're going to get crotchety because they called something, come talk to me, and we'll figure it out, all right? So the second thing I wanted to talk about the rules, again, foul on all balls, right? If you ever move anything, it's a foul. If you touch the cue ball while it's moving at any time, it's loss of rack. If there's 6 balls on the table and this cue ball is going in this pocket to scratch and I catch it, it's loss of rack. We need to call this on each other. We do. And I would also like to offer this up. If any team wants me to completely come over there and just referee a whole match, I will. But that means that you're giving it up to me to call all fouls. I will be your, now obviously I can't do this for everybody all the time, and we also have the stream running that I'll want to do commentary on. But especially if 2 teams are getting into an argument, or if people just want to see what it feels like to have a full-time referee, I will go over there and referee your whole entire match. But if you ask me to do that, you're relinquishing the 2 opponents, because then you have an official referee refereeing your match. Like if I see you touch something, I'm calling foul. If I see you made the 8 and the cue ball is still rolling down here and you take this 2 ball to go give it to your opponent, even though that's a nice thing and I can appreciate what you're trying to do, that's loss of rack and ultimate pool, and I will award the win to the other player. Because this is what you have to get used to. I also am not certified right now, but I'm going to be going not to the Florida Open. John's going to the Florida Open. The next one is in Kansas City. I will be going to the Kansas City Open if anybody wants to join me. And I will be getting certified as an IRO referee out there if I can. If not, I'm going to do it as soon as I possibly can. I just talked about grabbing the cue ball while it was rolling. Number 4, everybody should know this, the handicap rule requirements, right? I'm just going to say this one time. I hope everybody is listening. This is week 7. You must play one player that's a 450 or below, and you can only play 2 players that are over 600, and only one of those players can be over 700. It's in the rule book. I really implore everyone to read the rule book. Do you have a question?
Yeah, my brain was burning. That shot that, I didn't have a brain fart.
Well, I'm here if you need it, right? If you go on your app.
Can we talk about that particular thing? So let's say they put up and we were like, that's too high.
So the app won't let you.
Right. But they were trying, but they can still just adjust it and pick again.
Well, so if I've already played 2 players, well, no, that's what I'm saying. So if Troy and I are on the same team and we both have already played, but then we also have John Moore on our team who's also over 600. When the captain goes on there to choose the next player, John Moore will not even be highlighted as an option. So he won't even be able to throw. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows the rules on because people have asked me like what this rule is, and we're in week 7, and this is the most basic stuff. Also, you guys, I want y'all to know that several people have come to me individually and asked me to make sure that the other people know the rules. So everyone is kind of complaining about everyone else about not knowing the rules. So as a collective, we all need to make sure that we're following the rules. Okay? You know what it was?
I know what it was.
All right.
Okay. My opponent, I played the 8 ball. Q-Rock is still rolling. And my opponent picks up the 2 ball. But I just won the round.
So obviously, so your opponent.
Yeah, but my opponent does it.
Right, your opponent does it, so it's not a double loss of rack. He already lost the rack. But we definitely want to let that guy know not to touch. Just don't touch anything ever, right? It is not a loss of rack if you scratch and your opponent goes and gets the ball out from underneath here for you. That is not a loss of rack. I don't know. I heard that may have happened in previous weeks. That is not a loss of rack. Also very important, if two players are playing each other, as I mentioned, they're the only ones that can call it on each other. But if there's no third-party referee watching the match and the shooter says, no, I did not move that ball, no, I did not pick this up, the call's going to go to the shooter, guys, right? I mean, there's no way, we're not going to be able to go back and argue it over and over again. Call is going to go to the shooter. Now, if I hear that Mike, sees me foul and he calls a foul and I just keep saying, no, it wasn't a foul, and that happens over and over again, I hear from a lot of people that same person keeps doing that, well, obviously we'll have a conversation with that person, right? Last little things real quick. On your app, there are 2 places for the rule book. Right here at the top, it says the league manual and the 8-ball manual. You can download both of those to your phone. And then in the bottom right corner, there's a little question mark that you can click. And all 3 PDFs, the league manual, the 8-ball manual, and the scoring guide teaching you how to keep score is also on there. It's on the bottom right corner of your app. Timekeeper is the only one besides the 2 players that can call the time foul. The timekeeper cannot call a "you just touched that ball" foul, right? But the timekeeper is the only one that can say, hey, stop, you've gone over your 30 seconds, it's ball in hand to your opponent. Guys, you have an extension. Like, use your extensions, right? It should be like almost no time fouls ever, right? The timekeeper should call 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you're not shooting when you hear 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, well, then you deserve to get the ball in hand foul, right? You want to make sure.
You weren't talking too soft. Oh, I didn't think you wanted me to.
No, well, so you want to make sure.
But to say, no, I don't want that, for the timekeeper not to have that responsibility.
Right. You want to make sure before you start your match that your timekeeper knows that you need you to call that. And if they're not prepared to say it loud enough, you need to find a different timekeeper, right? Or I can do it.
Who is the timekeeper in this league?
So the timekeepers rotate between the 2 teams. So the timekeeper is the scorekeeper, right? And whatever team wins the toss decides whether or not their team keeps time first or the other team keeps time first. And then it rotates, right? And only one person has to do it. Unlike the other league where remember we were talking about that last night, okay? So only timekeeper, I'm sorry, Anna, go ahead.
What happens if you don't want your 10 seconds and 5 seconds called out?
So if you do not want your 10 seconds and 5 seconds called out, that is your option, and it is completely fine. Make sure you talk to the timekeeper about that first, right? But then it's going to be up to you to keep an eye on that shot clock. If you don't want that 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the timekeeper is just going to go, foul, And listen, I don't want everyone to have their own different times, right? We're going 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's it. We're not calling 7.5. We're not calling 19 seconds. Some people over in my other league were like, no, I want them to tell me when it's 20, and then when it's 15. No. We're doing 10, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you hear 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pull the trigger. 1, right? Pull the trigger, right? Shoot.
So for that one, if the time has run out, can the timekeeper say that? Can you say foul, or it still has to be the player? It
is the timekeeper's responsibility to call foul if the foul has occurred. If the player shoots after the timekeeper calls foul, it's still foul.
That's the only time that timekeeper can ever call a foul is in regards to time.
Correct. Right? Not if a ball has been moved.
In table.
Correct.
Real quick. Some people are asking for 2010 foul.
Right, no.
They're watching the clock, they're bleeding the ground.
Right.
And you said...
I'm saying that we only are going to call 10, 5, 4, 3, count down from 5. Don't just go 10, 5, and then that's it. 10, and then if you're at 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, unless the shooter does not want that, and then you're not saying anything at all.
They don't have the option of calling.
Right, no, the shooter can't ask the timekeeper to call 20, 15, 14 and a half, like my son, 3 times, right? All right, are we all good? Are we all ready to play league? All right, also, real quick, before I lose everybody's attention, real quick. Nothing has been settled just yet, but I want you guys to know that I'm possibly, hopefully, going to be able to get Johnny Archer to come to one of our league nights and to do an exhibition and exhibition matches, and then he's going to hopefully do a clinic the following day. So he'll be here on Friday night to play people. I think it's going to be like race to 2 for $20, and if you beat him, you get your $20 back. And then the following day, he's going to do a clinic for 6 people, 4 hours, $200 a person. When I say 6 spots, I should say 5 because I'm going to be in it. And then I should probably say 4 because I want to do like a $10 raffle for all of our players, and the winner will be in it. So we'll have to sell 4 spots. Hopefully that will be in about a month from now. Again, I haven't locked this down, but he lives in Atlanta area, and I am really hoping to get Johnny Archer up here. Is that something you guys might be cool with? Interested in? All right, cool. All right, have fun at league tonight, guys. Enjoy yourself.
Make sure you don't get in here while we're all in Vegas.
No. That's the week before we go.
Work on getting Efren to come by too, though.
Yes.
I want to kiss his cheek so bad.